Hello and welcome back. My name is Dave and this is Fuzzy Tutorials. So what's on tap for today? I designed a really neat tool giving you a progress bar with a timer that's fully customizable. It even has a spot for you to put your logo on, and you can adjust colors. You can fade from one color to another in a gradient. It's got an adjustable outline bar that can go from a box to just a line above or below. You can adjust your text up and down, and you can even set a gradient in your text if you want. And you can adjust the opacity, and it'll automatically time whatever video you put it over top of. You're not actually sticking it on the video itself, just on the layer above it. You size it to match. You can put it anywhere on the screen. You can tip it to the side. You can resize it. So it's a really neat tool. There'll be two versions of it available, but I'm going to show you how to use it and what it can do. And there'll be a follow-up video to this where I show you how to build it. So let's get started. Okay, so what you're looking at here on the screen is the basic default form of this tool. And you can see if we scrub back and forth, it automatically times. Now I'll just give you a quick tour of the actual macro for this, or the tool I should say. So this is the build of this. It looks fairly simple. Let's just zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, so we've got the outline for the bar, and we've got the main bar itself. This is our logo background, and this is our clock. And you can see this is our mask for the outline, and this is the main control point. So if you take a quick look at some of the other items here, you'll see that I've got some expressions here. So what I'm doing is any changes that you make to this outline as far as size and position or anything like that, it automatically changes the main bar itself. I've also given control of changing the corner radius, so you can make these ends round. Those are also linked together so that it changes everything at once. I make a fair amount of use of expressions in here, and you see we've got a keyframe stretcher there, so that allows this to be resized, and it resizes to match whatever video you're working with. And we've even got the drop shadow control. The sizing of that is, of course, it's automatic because it's the drop shadow node. Now, one other expression that I've got set up in here is if we take a look at the control for the logo background, you'll see I've got an expression in here where I'm taking the width and tying it to the height, and then I'm dividing, or I'm multiplying by the aspect ratio, which is 16:9. So that keeps it always looking square. That way I've only have to have one control. Alright, so let's go back to actually using the tool. So if you go into your effects library here, so you can turn that on if you don't already have it on, and go into titles, and then you scroll down and you're looking for let's make this so you can read it here. So you're looking for the FD progress bar with clock and logo. So the there's the Pro version and the free version. And the free version will do just about everything that the Pro one will, but I've limited a few things. You can only use solid colors in the free version. Okay, so we're going to take our tool and just drag it over one of the videos here. Now we'll turn on snapping and we'll take and expand this out to match the video. Now, just as a couple of notes here, you can turn snapping off and on a couple of ways. You can do it up here with the little snap icon, or you can just use N on your keyboard. And as far as I know, it's the same for Mac and Windows and Linux. And this is just some stock footage that I got from pexels.com. Okay, so now we'll just select our tool here, and you notice that there is a whole bunch of controls here. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. And there's also my contact information and stuff at the bottom here. So let's go back up to the top. Now you can also go over to video, and this is how you can move it around. So if you want to change its position on the screen, you can do that. You can shrink it down. And of course you can even rotate it. So if we want to have it up on the side of the screen, okay, but just for ease of use, what I recommend is you start with everything like this. You make all your changes that you're going to make, get it just the way you like it, and then move it to where you're going to use it. Okay, so let's go back to the Fusion tab of it here. So the first thing we can change here is the outline opacity. So we can drop that down. You can make it disappear altogether. And we can do the same with the fill. Now obviously you're not going to want to make the fill disappear unless all you want out of this is the countdown clock, but there's easier ways to do that that are less taxing on the system. So you can leave that partially see-through if you like. And the same thing with that background for your logo. You can fade that down. And further down I'll show you how to change the color and stuff. And we've also got opacity control for the clock. And then the drop shadow, we can strengthen that up, make it darker. Or we can fade it away completely if you don't want a drop shadow. Now I would recommend that if you're going to use this faded down, so if you're going to have your opacity set fairly faint, you might want to get rid of the drop shadow because then it'll brighten everything up a bit. And you can also change I'll change the distance here first. So you can see how you can make it look like it's further up off the canvas. And we can even change the angle, so if you want to rotate it around the other way. Now this is especially useful if all of your other animations have a particular direction that you're using. And if you were to take this and rotate it up on its side, like we were showing before, then you can rotate the shadow so that it will match the rest of your graphics. And we can also change the blurriness or softness of the shadow. You can make it really sharp or blurry there. And we can also change our line thickness. So if you want to make that a little bit finer, or if you want to make it boxier and thicker, you can do that. And then line position doesn't make any sense unless you change the line length. So if we drop that line length down, we can actually have it just be an underline. And that's why I have a default starting position of 0.515, because that lines it up with the one end. And then if you want, you can actually change this with the line position and move it around to be on top, like so. Or, as you kind of got a hint to, you can actually have it so that it's on the ends and just missing like the top or the bottom. And if you want to make it a little finer control, you do it in the box here instead of on the slider. And then we'll just adjust our line length. Oh, I did it the wrong way. So we get it adjusted at this end. And then extend it the other way. So it's pretty endlessly changeable, so you can make it suit whatever you like. And then we can also adjust the bar height. So, and like I said, those are they're tied together mathematically, so you only have to change it in one spot. So if you want to make it a nice thin bar, and possible use scenario for this is we could get rid of our outline entirely, have a nice thin bar, and then we can further down in the controls you can take the text and move it up so that it sits above the line instead of over top of it, or you can go below it as well. So we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Now another thing that you can do is you can change your corner radius, and this all gets changed at the same time on all of them. So I'm just going to go back and put our bar height back to default, and our opacity. Okay, so if I take this corner radius and move it up, you can see the color or the corners changing there, and you can make it completely round. And then if we look at our little logo background here, we've got some options for that as well. So you can adjust the size of that, which can be useful. And we've also got a corner radius on that, so if you want to change it to a full circle, you can do that. And if you are using it as a box or a curved corner box, you can also adjust the rotation. So if you say you wanted to make it into a diamond, you could do that. And that's where having the size control is really handy. And we can also adjust our outline colors. So if we wanted to change this to something completely different, so let's say we wanted to make it green, and we can leave it fading to the yellow, and we can do the same with the bar. So we could, and you can use this other color control as well if you've already got some swatches put together. So if you want to have the progress bar itself go from like a darker green, and then you can change it to a lighter green. And then if we just scrub through that a little bit to the end, you can see what it'll look like there. Now you've also got control over your logo background color. So if you wanted to change that to something else, you've got full control there. And now we've got our clock color. Now it starts off defaulting to just a plain color. So we could change that to whatever we wanted. So let's say we want to make that a yellow. And then here we can adjust our font size. You can even adjust it to a different font entirely. And then to compensate for alignment, we can adjust the vertical alignment. Now normally this only allows you to move it a maximum of 1 or -1, but I changed the defaults so you can adjust it to 4 offset either way. And this is where, you know, if you want to make your bar narrower and have the text sitting above it, like I was talking about, go back up to the top here. So if we got rid of our outline and then we changed our height, so if we thinned this down a bit, like so, then we can go back down to our text control and we could change our font size, bring it down a bit. And then we could even go back up here to our logo positioning and we could move this up and move it over. And then you can basically have something that's made for 2 lines. So this is a very flexible tool. You can use it a lot of different ways. So we'll go back down to our text control here. And I've given you full control over a lot of other features here. Now you can also control your left and right placement. Now also, if you need more adjustment than this, you can actually you can go into the text box here and type it in manually. So if I made this 4.5 for instance, so you've still got access to move it further. I just changed the defaults to make it more convenient for day-to-day use. And your right-on control here, I forgot to mention that earlier. Basically you're going to use this if you've got longer areas that you need to time. You can move this slider to the left. Oh, sorry, you can move this slider to the left and it will reveal the hours. So if you have a particularly long section that you're going to be timing, you've got control over that as well. And slide it back to show the minutes and seconds. Okay, so we'll go back down to our controls here for the text, for the clock. And here is where, if you want to set it to a gradient, you can change this type to gradient. And then to change the characteristics of this, you can just select that and say I wanted to make that a lighter color or even a completely different color. So I can maybe make that just more like a kind of a medium gray. Or let's say I wanted to have it be like a kind of a brownish orange color on the bottom, just as an example. And then if I wanted it like a lighter shade up here. And now just by grabbing these little sliders here, you can move this slider down and you can change just where those color grade changes happen. And if you want to add another one here, you can. So let's say we just go up into the actual color bar in an approximate area of the color we want. Click on it, create a new little triangle down here. And then if I want to make a very distinct line instead of a gradual fade, I can do it like that. So you really have a lot of control over this. So I'm just going to kind of set this back to more of a gradual fade here. And then I want to show you something really neat that I added in here is I've set it so you can actually adjust the angle. So if you want to kind of make it come in so it looks like it's more of a light source type of fade. And then we can even make it fully, if you want to make that fully horizontal. I've set it so that it works at a level of the line rather than the level of each character. So that way you can fade it nicely along the entire line. Like so. So you have a lot of control over that. And you do have control over the alpha as well, if you wanted to kind of fade it out more in one spot. And of course the time will automatically adjust for you. So I'm going to pull out the free one so I can show you the differences here. And let's turn our snapping tool back on. And then we'll just drag it to the length of the video here. Now, because of all the math involved, and especially when it comes to the timer part of this, it can take a little bit to fully render out. So I want to just kind of show you what these look like when they're fully rendered. So we'll just pause the video here for a second and we'll come back when they're done rendering. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to render in the background, I'm going to show you how to actually install these on your DaVinci. So the first thing you have to do after you download the file, which will be in a zip format. So once you download it, you need to go to your user directory here, or your user volume. Now I'm showing you how to do this on the Mac, but it's going to be basically the same for Windows. And there will be a README document in the package that will give you the actual paths to install it, as well as the instructions. So to get access to one of the folders under the Mac, we need to unhide anything that's hidden. So to do that, you just use Shift, Command, and period, and that opens those up. So we go into Library, so here's your full path here. So you've got Mac OS users, and then your username, library, application support, Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve, Fusion, and then macros. So you're going to put one copy here. So this will let you access it from within Fusion when you have it in your macOS directory. And then, so to access it from your effects library, we're going to go further down, and then you're looking for templates. And then you can decide where to put it, but I would generally recommend you putting these under titles. There's other ones I'm building that you would put under effects, but so your full path here is going to be, of course, your username, library, application support, Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve, Fusion, templates, edit, and then titles. And then that will let you access it from over here. So that's it. Pretty easy to install. Okay, so this is all done rendering. Now I want to show you a couple other real quick things here. So say for instance you want to actually take a logo and put it over top of here. And now you don't have to use this background like I showed you before. You've got access to turn that right off. So you just go up to your logo opacity and turn it right off. So to add a logo on top of that, you would just bring your picture in PNG format. So here's a possible logo you can use. So you would just place it over top. And of course you would resize it to match your clip length. And then we just resize the actual graphic itself. And we just put it where we want it. So in the case of a logo like this, it may or may not look better to maybe change the shape of it, put it on a round background. So with that logo, that actually looks better. And you can change the color appropriately, set your transparency, and that's real quick and easy how you place your logo on that. Now another option you could actually do is if you right click on your library effect, we can open that in the Fusion page. And then you could just grab that graphic as a media in. So if we open up our media pool here, We can bring this in as a media in node, and then you can just merge that over top, and then you can do the same thing. And once you've got it in there, just the way you like it, then we can come back out here and we can get rid of this. And then if you want to save that with your logo in there and your progress bar set up the way you like it, you can go to your power bin over here. So if you don't have power bins available to you, you just go up to your view menu and you go down here and you turn on show power bins. So once you've got your power bins there, then you can take this and just drag it over into your power bin, and now you can just drag that back to your project and it'll have your logo already in it and all your settings saved just the way you like it. So that way you don't have to drag it in and make all the changes every time. So we'll just wait for it to render here again, and I'll bring you back in a second. So while that's rendering, I'll just show you real quick the differences here in the free version versus the full pro version. So now you do still have access to your opacity. But you'll notice that there are some things that are no longer available. So you can still adjust everything that's showing here. So you still got your rotation and size and all that, and your corner radiuses and whatnot. But you'll notice that when it comes to the colors, your outline color, you only have access to solid color, and your fill color, the same thing. And of course the logo, I didn't put in gradients for the logo background. But when it comes to the clock, you've also got limitations there as well to just straight color, one color. You notice there's no more option to choose gradient. So here where you see select option, if we go down to number 2, that's for the outline. So we can actually change the outline on that text, so you can get rid of it completely if you want. Or you can make it thicker. So let's actually move that up over that guy's white shirt so you can see it better here. Okay, so if we adjust our line thickness, you can see the difference there. And if you want to make it bigger than what's allowed in default, you can just come in here and type it in manually. So let's say we make it 0.3. So you can do that. And another option you've got in here is you can turn it to outside only. But let's say we wanted to do something kind of interesting where you just want an outline letter. So we would go and actually disable our shadows. And we would go back here and re-enable our outline. And we would come up here and we would disable our face. So now we can go back down to our thickness. And we can make that a little bit thicker. And we could change the color. My apologies for my video problems here. I'm just a little bit older of a system and it's got a few quirks. So we'll shift our position on the timeline here a little bit. And here we can see the difference. If we turn off outside only, then it fills it in. So those are some of the other control you have over the digits themselves. Okay, that's all done rendering. So let's just take a look at the different versions here and you can see how they work. Now I should mention too that you can fully animate these as well, like aside from what's built in. So I've left all the keyframes available. So you could have these shift position on the screen and change some of the attributes over time if that's what you choose to do. So now you need to be careful when you're resizing this stuff, or you could make the same mistake I made here. So let's just turn off snapping here and we'll get it right to the very end of this one. Not sure what's going on here. Now I'm having some issues with my system here. So you have to be careful here. If we go over to the video thing, we'll notice that our bar went right off the end because we didn't have it sized properly for Okay, I'll let that render out again. So what I recommend is you go right to the very last frame, especially when you don't have the outline on. Or you make your adjustments with the outline in place. And when it's all set, then turn your outline off as the last thing. So those are some of the things to watch for when you're using this tool. But that's pretty much it. So that's it for this tutorial. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comments below and I will answer them as soon as I can, or you can contact me via email, which you can also find that in the About tab on my channel, or you can go to my website, which is fuzzyd.ca, and if you scroll the tool down to the very bottom in the comments, I've got my website address, my email in there as well. So that's it for this demonstration and tutorial. If you like what we're doing, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.